A beautiful signature guitar by Gibson for Angus Young, this 2013 Thunderstruck SG. It's a real dandy. Haha. But this is the Rio 2013 Gibson SG Thunderstruck Angus Young signature guitar by Gibson. And we'll be breaking down the differences between the Chinese knockoff that I showed you there at first with this genuine Gibson article. Also do a sound comparison and just give you my thoughts on it in general. So side by side, you can see that the one on the left, the Chinese, is a full pick guard, and the one on the right is a small pick guard. You also see too that pick guard is not cut right there in that corner. It's very off. The pick guard and the placement of the output jack there are just a little off, and they're getting closer and the quality's getting good, but yeah. Here's a close-up of the two headstocks, the Chinese one on the left, and you can see there are some minor differences, especially in the pearloid inlays on the Gibson logo there, and also the flower pot frog thing. That one's a little wider and not quite as mother of pearl inlay type looking. Significant difference on the back with the serial numbers and the lettering and the coloring in of the lettering. Shameless made in the USA lie on there. And you can see the point too is not as distinctive in the bookmark headstock. So it's different, right? I mean, you can definitely see. And here's another big difference here. And you can feel this when you play. The Chinese guitar has a really chunky neck. And look at that heel. I mean, that comes way out there. I have no idea why that heel is so big and far out. You don't notice it too much. It doesn't get in your way too much, but you notice it. Plus, it's a really chunky neck compared to the other Gibson. The inlays, they did pretty good. I'm sure it's a cheaper material than the Gibson on the right there. The angle of the photograph is a little off too compared. But yeah, they did a pretty good job on it, and the binding feels pretty good right now. I'll get to that a little more in a minute. So we're going to take these Chinese strings off here because I'm sure those are some of the worst strings that anybody could ever get. And truth be told, I played through them a little bit, and they weren't too bad, but they weren't too good either. So I thought if we're going to do a comparison video, we should give it a proper set of strings. I put some D'Addario 10s on here, and the other one doesn't have fresh strings, and it needs them, but yeah, they're not too bad, so it'll be interesting. So yeah, I pointed out the output jack is not quite as far back, and the controls as well. I compared this to my special, my Gibson SG special that has a full-size pickguard, and the pickguard is definitely much different. I don't know how you can't get a pickguard right when you're doing a blatant copy. It's pretty easy to trace out a real one and get that to work, but again, I will say I've had another Chibson a long time ago, and I've played a lot. My friend Brett has a ton of them. Some of them are better than others. Some of them come out real nice, and some of them need a lot of work. The one I'd had before was a Firebird, and it was not good. The routing was terrible. They had actually routed between the pickup cavities and the control cavities through the bridge post. So the bridge post has a hole going through it sideways, and it was never going to sit in there right, and I had to abandon that guitar altogether. Mostly really out of curiosity and interest on these Chinese rip-offs, just to see how they're going and how much it's gotten better or worse over the years. That's really why I got this, so please don't hate on me. And you can see too, this pickguard is getting stuck to the Nashville type posts there because they're not quite cut out enough. So the circles on the pickguard itself aren't really cut out enough, and they're pretty rough cut. You can see when it gets off of here finally. There it goes. Oh yeah, I pulled the whole stud out there, which that's not a great sign either. That stud came out so easily. So I'm gonna pull this hardware off and make it a little easier on myself. But yeah, that was annoying. And the bridge itself, it's really tall. It's a lot taller than a Nashville or an AVR1 bridge. The actual bridge saddles sit up really high. And that's probably a good thing because on the treble side, the bridge adjustment is all the way decked out. And you can see here that they went with a swimming pool route now with these guitars for the pickups because they weren't too good at the single routes for each pickup. So they've gone the Fender style and gone with just a swimming pool route here. And the route looked pretty clean. I didn't see any real problems or issues with it, but I have seen some really rough looking cavities behind a single cut routed pickup cavity on Chibsons before. So yeah, we'll put that back in, and then let's take a look at the control cavity. There's a lot of dust and finish sanding and material inside these cavities, as if they don't really take a lot of time to vacuum them out or clean them out, but they're cut fairly well. And I noticed too, the screws on this back control plate are smaller than the screws on the pickguard, and the pickguard screws are large, like Fender size large, and these are smaller like you'd see on normal Gibson pickguards, but that's one of the minor differences. The control cavity isn't too rough. The wiring's, there's a lot of extra wire, but it's not bad and it's effective. So let's listen to what these guys sound like. So what have I learned from this experiment and comparison of the Chinese ripoff SG to the Gibson USA SG? It is that the Chibsons are getting better all the time, and if you take it for what it is, it's a decent guitar and can be made into a pretty good player. Upgrades that are common and almost necessary are the hardware, so the bridge, right? I would definitely get another bridge for this if I was to keep it. And the tuners. The tuners are just awful. Very cheap quality. These pickups didn't sound too bad to me in low volume situations. Probably if I hooked it up to my Marshall stack, it would squeal like a pig and be uncontrollable. So pickups are definitely another area of improvement for these Chibson guitars. Is it a Gibson? No. Is it close? No. But it's a good low-end cheap guitar, and it looks good. And the finish is getting better. It has a lot of figuring, but it's just a laminate piece that's across the very top. So there's a lot of differences, right? Even the switch cover indicator is white on the Gibson. And the pickguard I mentioned is rough. It's just little things to craftsmanship and detail that, despite a lot of people saying otherwise, Gibson is still doing a pretty damn good job of. And you can feel the difference. The neck profile is completely different. The nut width is much thinner on the Gibson USA SG here, and that's part of the Angus signature guitar, where the Chinese one is pretty wide, standard, and very chunky neck, and I also showed you the heel too. So yeah, I mean, if you want that guitar and you want something just to beat around on or a project to upgrade, it's probably a good, fun guitar, and it can be made to play. But it is not a Gibson, and I won't be getting rid of that Gibson anytime soon. It's a really good guitar, and don't want to overshadow that fact by talking about that Chibson. I just know people are curious, as I was, about that. Not into any controversy. Don't bring me down with any of your comments about imports and this and that. I'm a big Gibson fan. Everybody knows that, and I just did this to check out and see how they were doing. And they're doing okay, but they're not Gibson. The Gibson blows it away, really. And, the sound comparison, they're different. You can tell the difference in the pickups, but again, that can be remedied. So playing it is really the only way to tell. And I really like the way that Gibson feels. I like the way my other SGs, Gibson SGs, feel compared to the Chinese Gibson. But again, it's an okay guitar, and I guess that's all there is to it. So thanks for stopping by, and be sure to check out my other guitar-related videos. Later.